Boss might have been the first female gangster rapper in hip hop, y'all. To my knowledge, I think she was one of the first female gangster rappers. Because I want to say, like, the Lady of Rage used to rap gangster lyrics, but she came after Boss. But Boss had bars. She was lyrical. She was nice, but she only released one official album before her health started giving her problems. And it's crazy because when people always mention the top female rappers, I never hear her name get mentioned. Another thing is, when it comes to Detroit rappers, she is never mentioned. She was way before Eminem and D12. So, let's get into her story, right? Now, Boss' birth name is Lachelle Marie Laws, and she was born on September 12th, 1969 in Detroit, Michigan. Now, she was the youngest of her two sisters, and her mother was a school teacher and her father was an auto worker, but they was also deacons. They were church deacons. She had a religious background. Now, growing up, she grew up on the west side, just south of 8 Mile, and she went to private school, in which she stated that she had to fight all through school. She was the captain of her cheerleading team and a member of the homecoming court. Basically, she had a very proper upbringing. She studied and went to ballet classes and everything like a normal little girl. But by the time she reached high school, she had fell in love with hip hop. She started to write her own rhymes over other rappers' beats and even did her first official show at a high school function in ninth grade. She wanted to be like her older sister named Carol, who went by the name Cap. Her sister was rapping and DJing out at clubs at night. Now, after graduating high school, she ended up going to Oakland Community College near Detroit. But she ended up dropping out because what she really wanted to do was be a gangster rapper. Like I said, ever since she was a teen, she loved that West Coast hip hop music. And she loved the Fat Boys, LL Cool J, Public Enemy, and the East Coast rappers too. But her favorite rap group that influenced her was NWA. And plus, she loved being in the streets and hanging out. Then she started winning all the rap battles around her way and became very popular locally. And she started recording songs in some home studios and recorded a song called Knowledge is Power, which was on a compilation for Ton Def Records. She was going by the name Lady the Boss at that time. But she knew in order to get a major record deal and make it big, she would have to leave Detroit. So that's when she and her friend D, who she had met in college, went to New York to try to get a record deal. But they had no luck because a lot of the labels was telling her that she didn't use enough profanity in her raps and didn't talk about violence, killing, guns, and alcohol in her songs enough. Plus, they really didn't want to deal with a female rapper anyway because it was just too much trouble. So that's when she turned into a gangster rapper, started wearing the gangster clothes, and then she headed to California and ended up in Compton. She saved the money. Her and D went to California and they ended up in Compton. And for the first 2 years, it was rough for Boss and D. They had no money, no job, and they was just hanging out in the streets, drinking, smoking every day, trying to pursue a rap career. It was so bad at that time that they had to sneak into a hotel. They had a community bathroom to take showers. They would sleep at the bus stop, sleep on the park benches, and would eat bags of chips just to survive. To try to make some money, they would sell dope, cocaine, and weed and face a bunch of sexual predators who wanted to kidnap them and do things to them. She said it was very dangerous living in LA at that time. But then they ended up meeting a nice female that let them stay with her so she can concentrate and focus on her music. And she started meeting some record companies, but they just kept telling her that females are too much trouble and hard to deal with at that time. Then she ended up meeting a rapper named Def Jeff, who was connected in the industry. And she started working with him, but she didn't like none of his beats because they weren't gangster enough for her. So she left him, and after that, she ended up spitting a verse on a track called One Nation for the album of a St. Louis artist named Silk Smooth. Then she ended up meeting some producers who worked with rapper DJ Quick. And once she got with them, she ended up being on one of DJ Quick's artists, AMG, his artist AMG. She was on his song called My Sister Is a Bitch. Then she recorded a song called Diary of a Mad Bitch for the Zebrahead soundtrack. And in that movie Zebrahead, which is a classic movie if y'all haven't seen it, but they also played her song called I Don't Give a F in the movie too. The song called I Don't Give a F. After that, then she ended up meeting Russell Simmons, because see, now how Russell Simmons caught wind of her, he had heard the AMG song and he liked it so much that he signed her to his new label called Def Jam West. Russell had just started that label, Def Jam West, which catered more to the West Coast talent. He was looking for some West Coast talent at that time, and he made Boss like his pet project to get it going, making her the label's first female signee, because really they were a group. You know, Boss was a group. It was her and her friend DJ Irene D. Moore as Boss with the $2 instead of the 2 S's at the end. Boss stood for bitches on some shit. Now, don't get it confused, right? She wasn't the first female rapper ever signed to Def Jam Records. The first was Nikki D, who had that #1 hit song called Daddy's Little Girl. That's to be on the radio all the time. But see, Nikki D, she didn't rap gangster lyrics like Boss did. And Russell Simmons, he really believed in Boss. And he said in an interview that the same women who buy Ice Cube and NWA will buy hardcore female rap if they're given the chance. And on May 25th, 1993, she released her debut album titled Born Gangsters, which hit number 22 on the Billboard 200 charts and number 3 on the top R&B hip hop albums chart, and was certified gold. Now, the first single titled Deeper, that hit number 1 on the Hot Rap Singles chart and spent 13 weeks in the Billboard Hot 100 charts. You know, Deeper, man, that was a dope song. It had that sample by Barry White in there, I'm Gonna Love You Just a Little More. And Def Jeff produced it for her. She looked out for him, even though she didn't like his beats in the beginning when she met him. But when she got her deal, she ran into Def Jeff and she told him that he was going to produce her first song. So she kept her promise. But Deeper, I love that song, man. Boss got busy on that track. Lyrically, she was dope on that track. Now, the second single was called Recipe of a Hoe, and that also hit number 1. That song, Recipe of a Hoe, hit number 1 on Hot Rap Singles charts too. That was my joint right there too. I love that song. Now, some other songs that I thought were dope on the album were Progress of Elimination, Born Gangster, and Drive By. You know, the Hughes brothers, who directed the movie Menace to Society, directed her video Progress of Elimination. And I remember seeing MC8 and his group Compton's Most Wanted in that video too. After that, then she ended up doing a song with rapper Spice One called Don't Ring the Alarm, The Heist. But you know, with the success of her debut album, she ended up going on the 93 Chronic tour with Onyx, Run DMC, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg. And even Tupac wanted her and her friend D to join his group Thug Life. Tupac thought they were the best female rap group out in the game at that time. And he even did a couple songs with D. Tupac had did a couple songs with D. Now, after that, right, now, Boss and her friend D stopped working together. That's her friend from back home who stood with her thick and thin through all the trenches. But once she got the deal, they stopped working together. They started having creative differences, and they had went their separate ways. Now, according to Boss, she stated that she and D used to fight so much that They had to separate them sometimes. Wow. But D ended up getting a solo deal with Def Jam too. But then in 1994, some of her fans and critics got wind that Boss was fake and not really about that gangster life that she portrayed after she did an interview with the Wall Street Journal. Now, in that Wall Street Journal interview, they brought up how she was raised middle class with both parents. She went to private Catholic school, etc., which was already known. It was already known because on the intro of her album, her mother was on there telling the world how she was raised and had a good upbringing on that phone messages on the intro of her album. Her mother also said in an interview that she really didn't have to be living on the streets in LA because they were sending her money like every week, to the point that she could have stayed in a hotel like the Embassy Suites. Wow. After that though, she ended up moving to Texas. Bossat went to Texas, did a song with a rapper from Houston named Ricardo Royal, aka Cocoa Butter, and they started dating after that, and she ended up having a child by him. And that's when she decided to settle down in Houston, Texas. Now, Russell Simmons were pressuring her to finish her second album, and she did finish that album, but Russell Simmons wasn't satisfied. He wasn't feeling none of the songs that he had heard, and he ended up dropping her from the label. Now, according to Boss, she said Def Jam funded demos for her second album, in which she recorded in Texas, but the label rejected the results, and Def Jam and Russell Simmons stopped returning her calls, and she was soon dropped from the label's roster. Wow. After that, in 1995, she was featured on a song called No Peace for the rap group called South Central Cartel and Friends. But also that same year in 1995, she ended up moving to Dallas, Texas, and she took a radio job, co-hosting job there, a nightly hip hop show she started doing on K104 for about 5 years. She was pretty good on that radio show. She interviewed a bunch of people like Yo-Yo, Biggie, Busta Rhymes, and the list goes on. But here's the thing though. Her kidneys started giving her problems. Her kidneys were failing and causing her a bunch of health issues. All that drinking she was doing back in the day when she was in LA, grinding, trying to get a record deal, living in the streets, all that stuff had caught up with her. Because when she was in LA trying to get a deal, she said she would smoke and drink all day while writing and rapping all day from sunup to sundown. She loved that Boone's Farm wine. Wow, that Boone's Farm wine. And she said she drank all the time that Old English. And she said it destroyed her kidneys. Her kidneys was killing her during that time. Now, in 1999, she ended up breaking up with her baby daddy. Plus, her health with her kidneys were giving her a bunch of problems. So that's when she decided to move back in with her parents. And she was on dialysis for about 3.5 years. Wow. And the doctors told her that she wouldn't live long if she couldn't find a donor soon. Because around that time, she only weighed about 80 pounds, which made her not want to be seen in public. That's why we ain't see her in a long time after that successful album she dropped, Born Gangsters. But then luckily, a friend of a friend with matching blood type donated a kidney to her. So now with a new kidney, she wanted to record music again and was trying to get a new record deal. And in 2001, she was featured on Crazy Bones' song called Rolling Up Some Mo and a song called A Thugger Level for his album titled Thug on the Line. And it's crazy because she would go to the studio and have an IV and everything in her and would hook it up like it was nothing. She said she was taking like 45 kidney pills every day. Wow, that's crazy. Now, in 2004, she released a mixtape titled The $6 Million Mixtape. In 2008, she released another mixtape titled Doing Everything with DET. In May 2011, she needed another kidney due to her suffering from renal disease. And it was her family who revealed her urgent need for a kidney, reaching out to the Facebook community in search of a potential donor. In 2017, she ended up suffering from a major stroke and a seizure. In 2021, she had started a GoFundMe to help pay for her medical bills and a kidney transplant. And she raised close to $18,000. But on March 11th, 2024, Boss died at a hospital from kidney failure in Southfield, Michigan. Man, that's sad, man. What a shame, man. All that drinking had finally caught up with her. And the hip hop community showed a lot of love to her after she passed away. Rapper Bun B had put out a post saying rest in peace, saying she was one of the best females and a dear friend of his. Legendary rapper Curtis Blow posted saying she will never be forgotten, will live on in our lives forever. Rapper MC Search posted saying this, right? He said, "My hope is that many of you who don't know her music will listen now. The same way many of you started to listen to artists like Nipsey Hussle and Pop Smoke after they died. She is worth your time and she is worth the effort. Rest in peace." Even Eminem shared a tweet about her death saying, "Boss rep the D so well as a pioneer, such a talented MC. Rest in peace." Her friend D, she's still putting out music. I know she put some out a while back, so I hope she's still doing her thing. But Boss was a great MC, y'all. Boss was a great lyrical rapper and will truly be missed for the doors she opened for female rappers. She was only 54 years old. Rest in peace, Boss.